some of my favorite activities from the Developing Number Concepts with Kathy Richardson. These were my go-tos. Along with Split the Pot, these 4 activities are what I used a great deal to get my kids fluent within 10. So the first one is Snap It. And Snap It is in book 2. Let's make sure I've got the right page down. I've got 56 on the slide. Hopefully that's it. Yes. Page 56 is where you can go to if you want to read a little more about Snap It in the book that I'm going to show you. I'm going to model it for you here. Well, I'm running out of space. With Snap It, and I'm going to keep it with the number 6. So you can see. And what's great about this, it's like just like all the other activities I've showed you today, is it's whatever number your kids are on. Whatever they're on, that's the number of cubes that they work with. So we're going to pretend that this child, or that I'm the child that's working on 6. So I get a train of 6. And I simply just snap it in the beginning. And I look at my parts. Well, I have 3. And it's so hard for me to figure out how to put this virtual background. 3 and 3. I guess if I pull it back here, you can see it. 3 and 3. And then I put it back together. Now this is the beginning of it. And I snap it again. This time I have 4 and 2. Notice I'm just talking. I'm just looking, observing, and talking. Now I've got 5 and 1. And 5 and 1 is 6. Using that language again, just like what you said with the number talk. After I get really good with that, I could actually move that to my CSA work mat, and I could break it. I'll just show you. I could break it and lay it down. Then I could draw it over here, and then I could write if I was ready to write that 3 and 3 is 6. If I was ready to move through all that, I could do that as well with this. Normally we just would break and talk with this one. Then when I get really good, I can put this behind my back. I know that I have 6, and I could snap it and pull this to the front, just one piece. Okay, I've got 2. So what's behind my back? I had 6. Now I have 2. And then I could check and see that I have 4. Okay? Now, I can do this with a partner. But you want to put them with a partner, someone that's working on the same number, and then you want to only give them 1 train. Because if you give them 2 trains, they're both going to be doing it at the same time. Believe me, I tried that. So 1 train with a partner, and they snap it and they take turns telling what the missing part is to the partner. They really enjoy working together on this one. Of course, this is doing what? What are we finding? Again, this is introducing them to algebra. It's that missing add-in. That little square I drew earlier? That's what that is. It's what's missing. Right? So that is snap it. Now the next one that I want to show you is called the wall. And the wall is on page 59 in book 2. And with the wall, what you do is you take your cubes. I'm working on 6. Notice I'm still with the same number, different activity. I could have done split the pot with 6. I just did snap it with 6. Now I'm going to do build the wall. I'm going to do the wall with 6 rather. Okay, so what you do with the wall is you just spread them out where there's space for you to put your hand down in between, and you just put your hand in between, so a space. So I have 3 on this side, and then I peek over the wall, and I have 3 on the other side. So 3 and 3 is 6. Okay, now I'm going to choose another one. Here, I have 2 on this side. So 2 and 4 is 6. Now, I would sit with my students and I would ask them to wall off. Whenever they had played the game enough and I thought they were ready, I'd ask them, so I'd say, okay, wall off 5. So if they immediately go to the top, I know they've probably got a pretty good understanding of what's going on. But if they have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do it, we've still got some work to do. So I can make some observations about what they can do. I can do progress monitoring right here with this activity. I can see, well, how many of them they can get right with it fluently. So that is the wall. Now the next one is called the cave. And I kind of changed the names up a little bit, so they may be changed a little different in here. 61, the kids would help me name stuff sometimes. With 61, and I changed the tools up a little bit. I did add the solo cup. You probably will not see a solo cup in that book, but I had tons of solo cups in my classroom. They're cheap. I like the way that they made the noise when the kids were counting, doing the 1-to-1. And when they needed to be tossed, I just tossed them away and got more. So they were a really great tool to keep in the classroom. And they were perfect for the kids to get their hands down inside of and work. So with the cave, what we do is I have 6 cubes. I'm still working on 6. I put those 6 in that cave and I flip it over. So how many are in the cave? There's 6 in the cave. So the kids would reach in and they'd pull some out. Okay. So how many are on the outside of the cave now? 2. So how many you think are on the inside of the cave? Again, we can lift it, we can check. If these are all self-check as well. Lift and check and see that there are 4. So 2 and 4 is 6. They would put them all back in the cave again. And the kids would love to pretend that these were bears or bats or whatever the season was. Halloween, they were bats. So this time I pulled out 3. And they can work with a partner as well. This can be partner work. The partner could say, okay, I think there's 3 under there. So they would lift and check and see that there's 3. So 3 and 3 is 6. Again, algebra. Missing part, missing that in. Introducing the kids to that. So that would be cave. Now the next one was grab. Notice we're still working on the number 6, working on being fluent to 6. You have 6 in the cup. You reach in, you grab some out. Okay, I've got 1 on the outside of the cup. So how many are on the inside of the cup? Here's where I learned to make the kids put their hand down or their arm down, and then they would dump the extra, and then they would see that 5 and 1 is 6. And then we put them back in here. And of course, they can always be drawing and writing these as well. Pull some more out. This time I've got 3. Put my hand down, dump. 3 and 3 is 6. So we have watched split the pot. We could have done with 6. We've done snap it with 6. The wall with 6. The cave with 6. Grab bag with 6. Now, do you think after we've done all that, or maybe a week, if we have to do a week, do you think they would probably be fluent to 6? What do you think?
I think so, and I think especially if we use the math mat along the way after you've done these activities with some other problems for them to also go along with. I think so.
Yes, yes, they were. They moved so fast. My kids were fluent within 10, and these were intervention students. They weren't the top of the class. They struggled with math, and they moved leaps and bounds. They were fluent. I mean, they knew ways to make
I'm
sense.
even thinking about where you said that's introducing them to algebra. I'm even thinking for like some of the older kids that are not necessarily the special needs, but still need that concrete support while they're learning. If you just even showed them that with the up to 6 and put a Y in place of that box,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe they could kind of see how that all still related back to what they learned in the foundational part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These strategies are not just for special needs kids. I've said that from the time I started working here. I have a gen ed background, and I was fortunate enough to get to do math intervention. But these strategies are good for all kids. I say all the time that every new concept needs to go through the CSA model. Every new concept in math. Kids need to see it modeled, and they need to know why. Don't just teach them a rule. Show them why the rule works, and then you move into using the rules. But you are absolutely right. Yes, this is something that's for anyone that needs to understand it. Absolutely.
Vonda, keep in mind that this is not just for our kids in kindergarten through second grade either. We need to do this for all kids all the way up into high school.
Absolutely, yes, yes. Anytime something new is introduced, whatever their age is, that's not what matters, right? Or whatever whatever level of math that they're actually on, just to get that understanding. Yes, that CSA model.
Even just really to activate their prior knowledge, because that's really, if we can activate their prior knowledge to get them to think about what things may look like before we even introduce a new topic, I think sometimes that helps. They can make that connection as they're getting started instead of having to wait to try to make that connection after we introduce the new stuff.
Absolutely. Yes, you're right. You're right. Just taking, like you said, just bumping those numbers back down to numbers where they don't have to think about the math in it, but they're thinking about the process and the why. They don't need to have to work with big old numbers to understand why something works. So making those numbers user-friendly will help with that as well. Thank you. Good conversation.